He didn't shout it. He didn't flinch. Didn't glance around the room to see if anyone was listening. He said it like he was reading from a script he'd been practicing for months. As if each word had been rehearsed in front of the mirror, somewhere between his morning shower and the Uber ride to campus. Why are you even trying to be a father? You're just a temporary arrangement. And that was it. No drama. No build-up. No argument. Just a blade slid between my ribs so casually I almost didn't feel it at first. Almost. Joshua, 19. Still living on my money. Still calling me Alex when he felt polite and him when he didn't. Still eating the food I bought, charging groceries to the card I loaded, checking his bank account and finding deposits from a man he wouldn't even claim in conversation. And now I was temporary. The room went still. Debbie, his mother, my partner. She was there too. She was pouring tea. That was all. As if nothing had happened. She didn't look up. She didn't say a word. Not then, not after. Her silence wrapped around me like wire. I sat there for a beat too long. I heard the clock tick once. Then I got up. Didn't respond. Didn't clear the dishes or fix my face. I walked out of the kitchen and down the hall to my office. Closed the door. Locked it. Not because I thought they'd follow, no one ever does, but because I needed one corner of this house that didn't echo with someone else's entitlement. I sat at the desk. My laptop blinked awake. I logged in, hand steady. That surprised me. You expect anger. You expect rage. But I felt something colder. Something cleaner. First, the housing portal. His dorm bill was due in 3 days. I canceled the payment. A confirmation email hit my inbox before the window even closed. Next, Geico. One policy under my name, one car registered to him. A used Civic I'd co-signed for, back when he promised he'd pay half. He hadn't paid a cent. I canceled the policy. Let the DMV send the letters. Let him learn what lapses mean. Then, the bursar's office. Tuition deposit. Already paid for spring. I filed for the refund. The system told me it might take up to 6 weeks. That was fine. I wasn't in a hurry. I just needed to know it was undone. I stared at the screen. Then I opened the spreadsheet. I'd started it a year ago, not because I expected to use it, but because some part of me knew I might need to prove I wasn't a ghost. That I had been here. That I hadn't imagined it all. 3 columns. Debbie, Tom, me. His mother. His biological father. And me, the man who showed up. I entered every expense I could verify. Rent contributions. Groceries. Bookstore receipts. The Amazon orders for laptop cables and headphones. The Apple Care for his phone. The guitar lessons he begged for, then quit. The summer abroad program. The meal plans. The car repairs. The health insurance premiums. Every flight, every birthday, every apology gift when his father forgot to call. I didn't include utilities. That felt petty. Debbie's column was easy. Almost nothing. She'd said it early. You don't have to do anything, Alex. He has a father. Just be supportive. Translation. Pay the bills. Keep your mouth shut. Don't expect a thank you. Tom, his real dad, had a few entries. A concert ticket. A used iPad. A check that bounced, which I replaced without telling anyone. And then there was me. $42,183.68. That was the number at the bottom of my column. 3 years. Rent, insurance, tuition, groceries. Dreams I made possible. Emergencies I covered without a second thought. $42,000 and some change for a boy who saw me as a placeholder. I didn't add a note. I didn't include a message. I just attached the file and sent it. 1 email to Josh. 1 to Tom. And 1, just for the record, to Debbie. Then I sat back in my chair. The house was quiet. Always is after the wrecking ball swings. I didn't expect a response. Not right away. But Tom called 20 minutes later. His voice was low, strained. Like a man who's just seen a mirror he can't unsee. I knew she was using people, he said. But I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't answer. He kept talking. Look, I've been a shit dad, I know that. But I never thought she'd just hand him off like that. Like a baton in a race. Like you were just, what? A wallet with arms? He paused. You think this'll teach him something? I stared at the screen. The inbox pinged again. Automated response from the university. Refund being processed. I don't know, I said finally. But if he thinks I'm temporary, he can let the temporary pay for college. Tom was quiet for a long time. Do what you have to do, he said. Then he hung up. Strange. That was the first time we'd ever talked. Man to man. Not through Debbie. Not through birthday cards or tense family functions. Just two men, standing on the opposite ends of the same bridge, watching it burn. I shut the laptop. My office went dark. Dinner passed without me. Debbie didn't knock. Josh didn't text. The house made space for the silence. That night, I sat on the porch, watching the neighbors string up Christmas lights. They blinked in the cold, red and green and blue, like signals from a world I didn't belong to. A temporary arrangement. That phrase kept turning over in my head like a coin. He didn't say stepfather. He didn't say Alex. He didn't even say you've been good to me, but just a temporary arrangement. Like a rental car. Like a coffee table someone loans you when they move in. He didn't know the cost of what I'd built for him, because I never made him see it. That was my mistake. I thought quiet effort earned quiet respect. I thought showing up counted for something. I thought being the one who stayed would mean more than the one who vanished. I was wrong. I realized then, I hadn't just been paying for his education. I'd been paying to stay tolerated. And the payments had run out. My name is Alex. I'm 47. I used to teach political theory at a small liberal arts college in Austin. I liked the quiet weight of libraries, the hum of students who still believed ideas could change the world. Back then, I believed that too. Before I traded philosophy for practicality, lectures for leases, love for something I now know was just debt in disguise. I met Debbie in the fall. She worked in administration. Not flashy, not loud. She had that kind of tired charm that made you feel safe. Like she'd already weathered worse storms and could hold the roof up if it cracked again. I liked that. I'd been through my own share of disappointments. We were both divorced, both trying again. That's what we told ourselves. Trying again, like it was noble. She had a son, Joshua, 16. Tall, quiet, polite when it served him. I met him over dinner, pasta and silence. He shook my hand like someone told him to. Debbie warned me early. He's very close with his father. They talk every week. I told her that was good. She told me I didn't need to step in. That he already had a dad. So I didn't step in. I stepped around. I paid for dinner. I cleaned the gutters. I fixed the garbage disposal when it jammed. I stayed late at night to help her finalize grant proposals. I took her car to get serviced, bought new tires when I saw the treads were low. I never asked for gratitude. I told myself presence was enough. 6 months in, the college announced budget cuts. I lost my position. Debbie said it was fine. We'll make it work. I started consulting. Side gigs. Contract work. Less prestige, more hours. I paid the rent. I bought groceries. Joshua needed a new backpack. I paid. He wanted new cleats. I paid. His father, Tom, promised to help, but the help never showed. Debbie didn't ask twice. A year passed. I was living there full-time by then. Not married, but settled. I'd moved my books in. My shirts hung beside hers. Joshua still didn't speak much, but he didn't sneer either. That felt like progress. On his birthday, he thanked me for the cake. That was the only time I heard thanks in 3 years. When he graduated high school, Debbie cried. She said, I couldn't have done this without you. I remember that clearly. We were sitting on the porch. The sun was setting behind the fence. I thought maybe that meant something, that I wasn't invisible after all. 2 weeks later, he got into a college 3 hours away. Public, but still expensive. Debbie panicked about costs. She made a spreadsheet. I added to it. Quietly, I took out a personal loan to cover what federal aid wouldn't. Told her not to worry. She didn't. Tom called once. Said he'd pitch in when he could. He sent a check for $500. Debbie framed it like a miracle. At least he's trying. That summer, Josh needed a car. Just something small, Debbie said. He can't be stranded up there. Co-signed. Paid the down payment. Paid the insurance. Paid for gas cards, parking permits, textbooks. He texted a thumbs up when I sent the funds. I never saw him drive the car with joy. Never heard him thank me. Just saw the oil changes on the account, the dents on the bumper when he came home for Christmas. Still, I stayed. He got into guitar. Said he wanted to join a band. I paid for lessons, a new Fender, strings, pedals. His real dad took him to a concert once. Sent pictures to Debbie. She showed me proudly. They're bonding, she said. I nodded. I paid for a summer study abroad program in Florence. He said it would expand his worldview. I pulled money from my retirement. Quietly, Debbie cried again. Said I was a good man. That phrase should have felt like gold. Felt like cement. I started to notice things. How Josh never mentioned me when he talked to his friends. How he introduced Debbie with warmth and me with obligation. This is Alex. That was it. Not stepfather. Not partner. Just Alex, the man who existed beside the fridge and the Wi-Fi password. And Debbie, she always left room. She'd say things like, he's still adjusting. Or it's hard for teenagers. She never said, Alex is part of this family. Never claimed me. Not in front of him. One night I brought it up. Asked her gently if she thought Josh respected me. She went quiet. Then she said, he doesn't disrespect you. That was supposed to be comfort. That's when I realized I was a placeholder. A stand-in. The man she leaned on when the real father wasn't there. The man she slept beside while keeping the past warm for her son. I was the insurance policy. The emotional stopgap. The financial backbone nobody wanted to acknowledge. Still, I stayed. Because that's what good men do, right? They shoulder things. They don't ask for applause. They just pay the tuition, take the calls, make sure the heat works in winter and the fridge stays full. They keep receipts in folders no one ever opens. They listen when the boy rants about politics he barely understands. They nod when the mother says, he's just a teenager. They tell themselves it will change. That maybe next year the boy will thank you. That maybe someday when he's older, when he sees the bills, the sacrifices, the long nights, the missed opportunities. Maybe then he'll understand. But the years stack up like boxes in a garage you never clean out. And inside each one is another piece of yourself you gave away for nothing. I remember one moment clearly. It was raining. Josh had come home for the weekend. Debbie made stew. We sat around the table. He was laughing about some professor he hated, doing an impression. I laughed. Not too loud, just enough to join in. He stopped mid-sentence. Looked at me like I'd spoken out of turn. Then he turned to Debbie and said, God, he's trying so hard. They both laughed. Not cruelly. Not sharply. Just a light chuckle like I was a little too eager. Like I didn't belong in the joke. I smiled. Excused myself. Washed dishes in the sink just to do something with my hands. That was a year ago. The moment should have warned me, but I pushed it down. Thought, it's fine. It'll pass. He's just a kid. I was wrong. You ignore enough small cuts, and one day you bleed out without realizing it. The phrase that ruined everything came later, but the rot had been there all along. In the silences, the shrugs, the half-laugh jokes. The mother who never said my name with pride when her son was in the room. People think betrayal comes all at once. A fight, a confession, a slammed door. But it doesn't. Comes quietly. A slow erasure. The kind that happens while you're still sitting at the dinner table, still paying the electric bill, still believing you're building something real. I wasn't building anything. I was filling a role someone else abandoned. And when they no longer needed me, they'd planned to slip out the back without even saying thank you. That's how I became a placeholder. Not through choice, through patience, through love weaponized by silence, through sacrifice repaid with absence, through 1,000 small decisions that added up to one brutal truth. I was never supposed to stay. It started in the kitchen, not with a fight, not with fists on the table, just voices drifting from behind a half-open door. The kind of moment you aren't meant to hear. The kind that only breaks you because it wasn't meant to be said aloud. But was. I'd come home early from a client meeting. Rain on my jacket. A tension headache forming behind my eyes. I thought I'd sneak in, shower, maybe make something simple for dinner. I didn't expect them to be there. Debbie and Josh. Standing by the stove, low voices and laughter simmering like the soup on the burner. "She's really got him wrapped," Josh said. "I mean, the guy doesn't even blink. Pays for everything like it's a subscription." Debbie chuckled. "He just wants to feel useful." "Please," Josh sneered. "He just wants to feel important, like he matters." And then it came, casual, cruel, like tossing a match into dry grass. "Why's he even trying to be a father? He's just temporary." A pause, then a laugh. "A placeholder until you find someone better." I stood there, the words leaking through the crack in the door like gas. Debbie said nothing. No protest, no correction. She just poured tea, stirred her cup, and took a sip. That silence, her silence, was louder than any insult Josh had ever thrown my way. Because she could have stopped it. She could have said, "That's not fair." She could have reminded him who paid for his education, his car, his damn dinner. She could have said my name. But she didn't. She let the insult land. She let it settle. And in that silence, I became what they'd already decided I was. An arrangement, not a man. I didn't go in. I didn't confront. I turned, walked down the hall to my office, and closed the door. This time I didn't lock it. This wasn't about emotion anymore. It was about accounting. I opened the spreadsheet, the one I'd built, updated, and buried. The one that lived in a folder labeled, "Just in Case." I renamed it, Debt Ledger. I added a new column, Respect Owed, and filled it in with zeros. Line by line, I double-checked the totals. Tuition, $12,940 per semester. Paid. Dorm fees, $4,200. Paid. Insurance, $1,100 per quarter. Paid. Groceries, phone, utilities, gas cards, textbook costs, even the Uber rides he didn't thank me for, all logged, itemized, clear as crystal. I included dates, receipts, transaction IDs. I added up the subtotals, watched the numbers climb like a heartbeat on a monitor. Over $48,000 in 3 years. Every dollar accounted for. Then I created 3 tabs. Debbie, Tom, me. Debbie, 0. The mother who always said, "He has a father." The woman who watched me drown in responsibility and said, "Well, you're better with money than I am." Tom, minimal. A few payments here and there. A guitar, a one-time check for a birthday trip. Vanished during tax season. Ghosted when rent was late. Called Josh twice a month. Always got a Happy Father's Day card. And then me, the ledger bled black with payments. My name beside every major financial milestone in Josh's adult life. Every support beam of his comfort traced back to a man he didn't even think to call family. I exported it as a PDF. Then I attached it to an email with no subject line. No message. Just the document. I sent it to Josh. Then to Debbie. Then, because fairness matters, I sent it to Tom. The response came quickly. Tom called first. 20 minutes after I hit send. His voice was tight, clipped at the edges like he was trying to keep it from spilling over. "I didn't know," he said. "No one ever does," I replied. He paused. "I mean, I knew she leaned on you. I figured you helped out. But this is what the hell." He wasn't asking me. He was asking himself how he'd let it go this far. How he'd sat back while another man raised his son. Funded him, protected him, without ever being invited to the table. "She's been playing both sides," he muttered. "Letting me think it was covered. Letting him think I'm the bad guy." I didn't speak. I wanted him to stew in that realization. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "Really, I should have stepped up more." I shrugged, even though he couldn't see it. "It's not about what you didn't do. It's about what I did. And what it cost me." He was quiet for a long moment. "Are you pulling out?" he asked. I leaned back in my chair. The screen glowed cold in the dark room. "I already have." "Good," he said. Maybe it's time he learns where money comes from. We didn't say goodbye. We didn't have to. That night I didn't sleep. Not from guilt. Not from fear. From clarity. I stayed in bed beside Debbie, her breath soft and shallow, her back to me like always. I looked at the ceiling and counted the years I'd spent in this house. This role, this lie. The quiet self-erasure I had performed daily. The way I'd folded myself smaller and smaller to fit into a mold someone else had shaped. I remembered the birthdays I planned, the holidays I paid for, the arguments I defused with a wallet. All of it wiped out by one sentence, one snicker, one sip of tea. The next morning, Debbie acted like nothing had happened. She moved through the kitchen like it was any other day. Coffee, toast, a light hum in her throat. She didn't ask if I'd seen the email. She didn't mention the spreadsheet. She didn't say my name. Josh didn't come out of his room. The silence had shape now. It moved through the house like a second person. At noon, a message came in from Josh. Short, clipped, defensive. Was that necessary? I replied with a single line. More necessary than you know. He didn't answer. Debbie said nothing. She sat across from me at dinner, picking at her food, pretending the table wasn't breaking beneath us. I packed my bags a week later. No fight, no confrontation, just methodical motion. Folded clothes, labeled boxes, canceled accounts. My name removed from the lease. A signed notice with 3 months runway for her to adjust. I didn't leave a note. I didn't say goodbye to Josh. The morning I left, Debbie stood in the doorway. Her eyes were dry, her lips parted, but no words came. I should have said something cruel. I should have said, "You chose silence." But I didn't, because some betrayals don't deserve poetry. 2 weeks passed. Then a text from Josh. "Are you seriously giving up everything?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, "I'm not giving up. I'm just done paying for a role you didn't give me." No reply. 3 days later, I got a notice that Josh had downgraded his classes. Fewer credits. Less cost. He'd applied for a job at the campus bookstore. His car was up for sale. The guitar? Listed online. Price reduced. Reality is an excellent teacher. Debbie emailed a week later. "You've destroyed this family." I replied, "No. You destroyed respect." She didn't answer. Tom called again. "They're blaming me now," he said. "Said I never did enough. That I'm failing them." I laughed. "Welcome to the club." He sighed. "You think they'll ever get it?" I shook my head. "They don't need to get it. They just need to live with it." We talked another 10 minutes. 2 men, linked by a boy who thought love was something owed, not earned. A boy who believed you could spit on the hand that feeds you and still be served dinner. Now the kitchen is empty. The bank account is mine again. The silence costs me nothing. I miss things, but not them. I miss the man I was before I knew what I was to them. A means to an end. I miss believing effort mattered. But I'm proud of the man who walked away. Because being temporary doesn't mean paying forever. I packed my things on a Thursday. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No tears. Just folded shirts, labeled boxes, and a silence so thick it coated every surface. I didn't slam doors. I didn't demand closure. You only ask for closure when something was whole to begin with. This wasn't. Debbie watched me from the kitchen. Said nothing. She leaned against the counter like it was a crutch, like if she let go, she'd fall. I didn't help her balance. I left her 3 months, signed the paperwork, gave her until the end of the quarter to figure out the lease. I was still on it, of course. My name, my credit, my reliability. The things that don't make you a father but make you useful. I didn't take the fridge or the couch or the smart TV. I took only what I'd paid for that wasn't nailed down. I didn't say goodbye to Josh. Not out of spite. Not to make a point. Just because it wasn't necessary. You don't say goodbye to someone who never said hello. 2 weeks later, the first text came in. From him. "Are you seriously giving up everything?" I stared at the words. Laughed. Bitter and soft. Everything? As if the house was mine. As if the time was his. as if the arrangement hadn't already collapsed under the weight of his arrogance. I answered simply, "I'm not giving up. I'm just done paying for a role you didn't give me." He didn't reply. He didn't need to. His silence was familiar by then, like wallpaper, ugly but part of the house. A week passed, then two, and slowly the fabric began to fray. His car insurance lapsed. Parking fines went unpaid. The refund check from the university came back. Approved. The tuition deposit was gone. Withdrawn. His class schedule shrank. He dropped electives. Picked up extra shifts at the campus cafe. I know because someone sent me a photo of him behind the counter. Apron. Head down. The caption read, "Humble Pie." The guitar disappeared next. A for sale post on Facebook. Discounted. Negotiable. No mention of who bought it in the first place. Then the phone plan cut off. Another bill he hadn't realized was tethered to me. That's how they learn. Not through words but voids. Not through lectures but absence. Debbie emailed me, "You've broken this family." I read the sentence 5 times. Broke it apart. Let the accusation settle into the marrow. And then I answered, "No. I just stopped financing the illusion." She wrote back. Said I was bitter. Said I was making Josh suffer for teenage cruelty. Said he was just a boy. But boys don't build ledgers. Boys don't say temporary arrangement with that kind of practice disgust. Boys don't look a man in the eye after 3 years of rent and groceries and say, "Why are you even trying?" They may be young, but they know what they're doing. And sometimes knowing doesn't need to be explained. Tom called again. This time with a sigh so heavy it sounded like defeat. "They called me a deadbeat," he said. "Said now that you're out, it's all on me." I didn't offer comfort. I didn't tell him it wasn't his fault. Because it was. And mine. And Debbie's. We all handed Josh a castle and told him he was king. Then we acted surprised when he ruled like a tyrant. "They think I've failed them," Tom said. I smiled. "Welcome to the other side." He paused. "Do you miss them?" I thought about that. About Debbie's half-hearted kisses. About Josh's muttered thanks when forced. About the weight of invisibility in a house you're paying to hold together. "No," I said. "I miss the version of me that believed they saw me." We hung up. Not coldly. Just honestly. That night, I sat alone in my new apartment. Studio. Sparse. No family photos. No reminders. Just clean walls and my own breath. The spreadsheet lived on a USB drive now. I kept it not out of spite, but proof. That I existed. That I mattered. That I gave until there was nothing left to give. Josh sent another message weeks later. A single sentence. I didn't mean it. I didn't reply. Because he did. He meant every word when he said it. And now he meant every regret because he had to. People apologize when their comfort disappears. Not when their cruelty lands. Debbie didn't write again. I think part of her still believes I'll come back. That I'll forgive. That I'll show up with groceries or a tuition check or a repaired Wi-Fi router. But I won't. I stepped out of the shadow of the role they buried me in. And I won't crawl back. I've learned this. You can give someone everything: money, time, love, and still be nothing in their eyes. But the day you take your nothing with you, that's when they finally see the cost.